The MMO landscape has so many different options for you to play, and everyone has their own preferences. However, not everyone wants to try out every MMO to get a feel for it because that's a large investment of time. If you are interested in playing a new MMO, I really suggest you check out Guild Wars 2 because it checks off so many of the things that I prefer in a game. But obviously, there are trade-offs to everything. You can't have your cake and eat it, but I think Guild Wars 2 has the best characteristics with the least detractions. Here are the 5 reasons why I play and think Guild Wars 2 is one of the best MMORPGs out there currently. First of all, combat is such an important part of an MMO because it engages you in the moment. With a combination of action combat and tab targeting, Guild Wars 2's combat is the best for immersing you in the moment because most skills exist as objects with physics in the game. Fireballs shot at the target need to land to deal damage. Swords need to be positioned in the right spot to hit their targets, not just look like they're landing and then behind the scenes roll a dice whether you hit or not. Rather than feeling like you're a prisoner in Plato's allegorical cave, seeing images of what is real, but only interacting with the numbers that go up and down, you actually think about movement and positioning because every skill has its own animation. This also means that the UI has minimal effect on the combat because instead of looking at cast bars, you're looking at that giant monster or enemy player swinging its mace at you. Of course, the further into endgame or competitive modes you get, you will need to use more and more of the information provided to you, which includes the UI. Someone has to pay the bills for game development, and as a business, profits are near the top of the priority list. That being said, Guild Wars 2 has the most fair monetization. There is a free-to-play version of the game, but I like to think of it as more of a buy-to-play game with an extensive free trial. There are limitations for being free to play, but you get a good amount of content to decide if you really want to play the game. If you do intend to play the game, you really should expect to buy it. Once you buy any of the expansions, you can play them, the specializations, and the new areas forever. You own the game. The End of Dragons expansion will be the 3rd expansion to the game, so you get a large amount of content to play if you're new. Okay, so you're thinking, how do they pay the bills, right? There is a gem store, aka microtransactions, where you can buy convenience items, skins, and living world episodes with real money. Yes, some of the game's story that is supposed to bridge the gaps between the expansion content is in the gem store. However, you can convert in-game gold, which you can farm, into gems. So you can decide what is more valuable, your time or your money when upgrading your account. Many of the skins they put out in the gem store are also very good, and while for some people they love it, others find that it devalues the rewards you obtain in-game, which is very true. However, if you consider the options for a business to sustain itself, the gem store is not pay to win, the game has no required sub fee, and you can still obtain gems with gold by spending time in-game. It seems the most fair option to me. One of the best things about Guild Wars 2 is that you can play one of the classes and then swap over to another class and have an entirely new experience. When you play against a Mesmer, you actually have to discern which one is real, giving it the feeling of being an illusionist. When you play an Elementalist, you feel how much sustain and utility you have from the much larger pool of skills you have to choose from. When you play an Engineer, you have to access many different combo pieces to create enhanced effects to solve the situation. And when you play against a Thief, you need to use terrain to hide your back so that they can't easily get behind you and stealth and backstab you. The main thing I love to do in Guild Wars 2 is create new builds and experience all the content on different classes. And if you look at how many videos I've done on different builds, you can just imagine the potential for theory crafting your own way to play. This leads into my next point because if you want to play all the classes, but you need to get gear for them, it's going to be difficult for you and you're going to have to invest a lot of time, but there is no gear grind. No one wants their old gear to become irrelevant, but also people want to feel like their characters are constantly progressing. You can look at this as a good or a bad thing, but the power level in Guild Wars 2 is hard capped and has been for several years. Players who do not like gear grind will love Guild Wars 2 because you can take a break from the game and your ascended gear will still be best in slot. For those who don't want to feel forced to do dailies every day and raid every week just to stay relevant enough to do the content that you want to do, you don't. Once your character is geared, you can still work on getting better at the game, learning your class more, or diversifying your build choices with alternate gear sets. This also makes the game feel much more fair because your ability to overcome a situation is more dependent on your ability to adapt and play around it rather than swiping your credit card or grinding for longer. You can't buy skill, and I think that despite the rewards in the gem store not feeling that meaningful, learning new playstyles and builds and progressing your skill at those distinct playstyles feels very rewarding to me. So if there's no gear grind, what is the purpose of the game? I know it's hard for some to believe this, but just play for fun. This isn't a second job unless you make it. You can play any game mode you want and generally get rewards from it. If you want to make gold to buy gems, you can do that in ranked PvP, open world PvE, or even world PvP. There are specific rewards you can only obtain from specific achievements or game modes, and believe me, there are plenty of achievements which can guide you to where the content is, whether it's some interesting lore, a new challenge, or a juicy new addition to your wardrobe. If you're not into completionism, then you can build your own guild hall, which is like a community player housing. People have made entire jumping puzzles and racetracks for the roller beetle mount. And yes, one of the most important things to mention about Guild Wars 2 is how beautifully made the mounts are. They feel so distinct and help you traverse and interact with the terrain rather than just having a speed boost to get from point A to point B. There's even a Griffin Academy guild whose purpose is to teach people to fly the Griffin fluidly and to go out on flying parties. If you're into more hardcore content, the endgame content of raids and competitive PvP has an extremely high skill cap, but a very low bar of entry. Raids and ranked PvP can be participated in and completed by the majority of the player base, and while balance can be lackluster, through community-run tournaments or struggles to claiming fastest kill records, emergent gameplay keeps creating new strategies. So that is the 5 most compelling reasons to play Guild Wars 2, and if you are interested in getting into Guild Wars 2, check out the expansion links in the description, which would help support me. There's also a free-to-play link there if you aren't sure but are willing to give it a try. It's okay if you don't like it, not everyone does. Consider subscribing and liking this video if you like my content and want more of it. And if you do decide to stay around, I will see you all next time.